Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a great day. And above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, the gang are back with another round of ranking the albums. And today we are going to be ranking the albums of the band The Police. Now, The Police, through their short run as a band, have had major success. To date, online, they have sold, uh, no, I don't believe this number, but they have sold 75 million albums worldwide. From England, trio consisting of Sting, sorry, Stuart Copeland, and Andy Summers. Uh, and yeah, they have released five albums to date. And it doesn't look like there'll be any type of a reunion coming. The last time they had a reunion was in 2008, 2007, 2008, sorry. And yeah, their style of music is listed as post-punk, uh, ska, reggae, rock, what have you. It's just a myriad of genre definitions. But you know what? We leave that up to you to decide what the genre is, because you mean everything is a label these days. So we have put together, and there is coffee in my cup and nothing else. If I'm sounding a bit flighty right now, there should be something else in the cup, but there isn't. Um, we put together our list, and as I look on my screen, I'm gonna go with we're gonna go Ken, Jim, and myself. So Ken.
Okay, thank you. My number five is Synchronicity. Um, uh, Heavy synth, a lot of polished production, a lot of filters on Sting's vocals. Um, yeah, not my go-to. First of all, is I prefer a rawer sound. Less produced, less polished. I've covered this when we've talked about U2. I prefer the first three albums as opposed to um, their big hits because it's kind of more stripped down and just rock and roll. Synchronicity, released in 1983, is um, it's too much of that mid 80s sound. And plus, holy cow, is this played a lot. Honestly, I would pay money never to hear Every Breath You Take again.
How much? How
Yeah, I'm
much would
just
you pay?
uh, yeah. And we're not even going to talk about the one track off this album. That's just um but anyway, yes, Jim.
I was zipping my mouth shut and
Okay,
twisting it and throwing away the key.
got it. Um Walking in Your Footsteps, going into world music, um, which is not a bad thing, but to me, I find it boring world music. So there you go. So many of these songs, and the notes,
Are they noteworthy?
a lot of these just feel very formula. The soundscape of this album is very narrow. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Um, uh, Again, I like the Latin guitar work on uh, Miss Gradingo. I like the out, and that's another thing. You don't hear really much guitar on these latter two albums. And Andy Summers is a great guitar player, and
Yeah.
he's buried in the mix. there's too much sense over that. By the way, he has a documentary that's very, very interesting. So
Do
I
tell.
think yeah, I can't remember the name right offhand, but
Okay, I'll look it up.
somebody out there does.
I think
Um,
I've seen it. It is interesting.
yeah. Um, Every Breath You Take, like I said, is way overplayed, and it's probably the simplest of all the songs on this album.
In terms of
Um,
arrangement.
in terms of arrangement, songwriting, whatever. Uh, my favorite song off this album is King of Pain, and that has nothing to do with Weird Al. Um, I like the sound of it. Yeah, Jim. Um, it feels less overproduced. And it probably that term overproduced isn't as accurate as I would like it to be, but I can't think of any other way to put it. Wrapped Around Your Finger is interesting, but it still feels formulaic. Tea in the Sahara, um, as background music, it's not the worst thing. But yeah, it just doesn't. Between being so heavily produced and so overplayed, this is one of those albums that you almost don't need to buy a copy because they play so many of the songs on the radio, and they have since 1983. So, yeah, I'm going to pass on Synchronicity. That's number five.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Jim.
I just have a question to Ken. I thought
Well,
that I kind of surprised at your ranking and comments on this because I thought, based on previous conversations, that you were a big fan of Hugh Padgham. Big
I
fan.
am. I am.
Hmm.
However, I'm not
Ex-
convinced. I'm not convinced that um, he was able to override Sting.
okay.
I'm just
You
gonna
know,
say this. I think that the dynamics in the band had switched dramatically. I'll get into that more later, but yeah, things were not all rosy in the police camp, let's say at
well,
that point in time.
they weren't even recording in the same room,
Exactly.
Right.
even when they
Exactly.
were playing live.
Exactly.
Um, and that's a good observation, Jim, because but there are many stories of um, great producers going in to produce an album, and there be such a strong personality in the band that at some point they just say whatever. So
Mhm.
I suspect this is the case because the the recording, the sound is excellent. However, I just don't care for this for the sound palette that they're going for here.
Yeah.
So Patcham probably gave Sting exactly what he wanted. Well, that was his job. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. I'll
And it
just
was to the tune of a bajillion copies.
Yes.
exactly. I'll just
Yeah.
I'll give you another example about a producer pretty much letting the band go in the studio. Michael Philip Wojwoda, who produced the Bare Naked Ladies debut release, Gordon.
Mhm. Yeah.
He went on record as saying that the only way to work with this band and produce them was just to let them go in the studio and do what they wanted to do because they had such a clear idea of what they wanted
Yep.
to do in the studio,
Yep.
even for a debut release, that he just
Yep.
like let them have free reign.
Yeah.
And it worked.
And it
So,
worked. Yeah.
um, but I'm not one to gossip, so you didn't hear that from me. Jim, please go ahead with your number five pick.
Yes, I will go ahead with my numero five. And you were mentioning Bare Naked Ladies and their debut album. Well, my number five is the debut album from the Police. This is Outlandos Stay and More. I know, Ken. Jeez, just watch it. Okay. So the reason I have this as number five is that it's all just a little too nascent or embryonic. the trajectory that the police will go on, I mean, all the raw materials are here. They're just not fully matured. Next to you, so lonely, hole in my life, can't stand losing you. Even like truth hits everybody. To me, these are like A plus songs. But the rest of the album just kind of it misses more than hits. It's like, again, the raw materials are there, but it's just not matured and developed enough. Um, Roxanne, I to use the phrase that Ken used earlier, I could go the rest of my life without ever hearing Roxanne again.
Mhm.
Again, it's just in my skull. I don't need to hear it again. I never really thought it was that great a song. I wish my understanding is that the original arrangement of it was kind of like a faux bossa nova version, and I would have, it would be fun to hear that. And maybe someday, if they do a Outlandos box set, we'll get that type of material. But yeah, for me, it's just a miss. Well, no, it's not a miss. It's the least of the five. Even a tune like Masako Tanga. I mean, I like that one a lot. It's just sort of a fun kick out the jams, let's kind of rock out sort of thing. And I don't mind that at all. Um, so for me, Outlandos is at the bottom. But again, it's the bottom of an incredibly strong discography. I use this, term a lot. It's like ranking Steely Dan albums of the first seven. It's like none of them are bad. It's just, you know, degrees of excellence and amazement that sort of separate one from another. So
I've always said when you do these lists, it's you don't want to put something down at the bottom of the list, but you have to. I mean,
you have to.
yeah. So, and it doesn't mean we like the albums any less. It's just when you do these lists, something has to go on the bottom.
Yeah.
So, all right. My number five is Regatta de Blanc, released October 5th, 1979. Produced by Nigel Gray and the Police. 41 minutes and 52 seconds. Starts off with Message in a Bottle. I think, good album starter. I'm pretty much these albums for me, and I'm going to say this early enough. There are bands we talked about where a greatest hits would be enough
Mhm.
for an individual, and that's kind of my thing with the Police. That's what I kind of feel.
Really?
Yeah, I know lightning's gonna strike me right in my bald head, but it's right in my crown. Okay, like it's just boom. I'm like, like it just like zapped. Um, I, yeah. Message in a bottle. The title track. It's all right for you. Bring on the night. Walking on the moon. They're good songs. It's just okay. That's
Yeah.
um yeah. It's again not that the albums are bad per se, but you do kind of get the feeling that with the first couple of Police albums, they're like, okay, there's very much a punk sensibility, a punk aesthetic going on here. Like
Sure.
basically get on, play the three chords, don't mess up your hair and get the hell off the stage and go home kind of a thing. But done with a bit of a reggae tinge thrown in there and ska tinge too, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I kind of get with this album. With again, especially with Message in a Bottle. But yeah, that's my number five, Regatta de Blanc. Start hating me now, everybody, which I know you do. But there you go. Ken?
I'll throw a comment in there relative to punk. Stuart Copeland has been all over the interwebs delightfully these last couple of years, giving interviews and whatnot, and he's such a great person to just hear talk and tell stories about those days. And he's told the story a couple different times where they would go on these package tours with the Clash and the Jam and the
Yeah.
Damned and other bands like that in the UK. It's like, the police would come off stage, and either backstage or on the bus later, all the other band members were like, "How do you do that? What chords are you using? How in the heck do you make that transition from bu 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 bu?" Even though the gist of the story being that even though the police kind of came out of the punk ethos, their songwriting and performing abilities was so far above a lot of their contemporaries that it's almost not fair to label them in with punk.
No, fair enough. I mean, in terms of their contemporaries that were out at the time, the police were pretty much up here in terms of like ahead of those groups that they were piled in with in terms of comparisons. But it's just the albums to me didn't really stand out. And I mean, my brother-in-law had these albums, and Maria would come over with Zenyatta Mondatta and Alanis Moore and uh, Ricardo de Blanc and all that, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is good, the do do do, the da da da, whatever. But it's like didn't really stand out to me,
Yeah.
And I was what 10 years old at the time, so I mean, like, okay, um, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. They were miles ahead in terms of their uh, musical capabilities, let's say. But okay, Ken.
Number 4, Ghost in the Machine. This is this was where it started going down for me. Um, this is where they started really getting that uber polished production sound. They bring in a horn section for many of the songs. Spirits in the Material World has a great bass passage. I love what they do with syncopation on this. The offbeat patter of the keys um, really beckons back to their ska roots. Um, and it was interesting because I my entry to the Police was the very first album, and this was before the internets and stuff like that. And I just liked the music. It was a long time before when I heard someone mentioned the reggae and ska because that's normal in England, but not where I grew up, unless it involved a banjo and a steel guitar. So so that still runs through, but I find that they use um, those patterns very creatively to their credit. That it's there, but yet it nothing sounds like Bob Marley. Obviously, every little thing she does, heavy synths, catchy chorus, you know, um, Invisible Sun, slow and moody. It's got very interesting chordal progressions in the chorus that I appreciate. But Hungry for You has a nice ska beat. It's repetitive, but not very interesting. And there again, another formulaic. Demolition Man, one chord, one riff all the way through. The Beatles could do it to my satisfaction, but not these guys. But anyway, you know, too much information, rehumanize yourself. All this has kind of the same as the last album, a very narrow sound palette for me. Um, or rather, I think they all have a very narrow sound palette. It's just that this sound palette just doesn't appeal to me. So I have to confess, I have a history of having a knee-jerk reaction and going against what is very popular. I can't I can't say that this doesn't touch on this, but re-listening to it to make notes for this video, it doesn't appeal to me anymore. So number five, I mean four, Ghost in the Machine.
Okay. Jim.
My number four is also their fourth album, so equal to Mr. Ken here. Yeah, just a
Basically, like
couple of
Ken
notes.
said.
Well, there's some different things than what Ken said. Um, I think my reasons for placing it where it did are a little bit different. First of all, a horn section, yes, but let's acknowledge that it's actually Sting on all the horns and reeds, and it's just, layered. Um,
Yeah,
the only additional musician on this album is French guy Jean Rousseau, who played keyboards on every little thing she does is magic.
yeah.
The This album was originally going to be my number three, but the more I kind of sat with these songs and thought about them and listened to them, the more I just said, they're just not up to snuff as the other album that I had at number four.
Right.
Um, the song, I like most of the songs that are on this album. Hungry for You is an exception. I mean, it's not like Mother territory, but it just like, I'm so tired of it. Demolition
Nothing.
Man,
Sorry.
Demolition Man, I have to be in the mood to get through that one chord vamp all the way
Yeah.
through. Um, Even when Sting performed this with the jazz band on the Dream of Blue Turtles tour, it really didn't have enough zip in it to make it like really great to my ears. Um, However, the songs on here that are the strongest for me, you know, Spirits of Material World, Every Little Thing She Does, and Invisible Sun, uh, Too Much Information, Rehumanize Yourself, One World, and and the Darkness at the end of the album, the Stuart Copeland tune. Those are just among my absolute favorite Police songs. And in fact, this album has two of my all-time favorites, which both happen to be written or co-written by Stuart Copeland. Um, Again, Rehumanize Yourself and Darkness are just absolutely fantastic deep cuts that to me stand as strong as Spirits, Every Little Thing, all that kind of stuff. I listened to this album when it came out just ad infinitum on my Walkman, and traded this out with Pink Floyd Animals for what that's worth. But yeah,
Okay.
I had those were like two cassettes I bought at the same time, and they were just in and
Okay.
Yeah.
out
Okay.
all the time. Um, yeah, it's again, none of these albums suck. This one just is more bottom of the tier comparatively.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Again, no right or wrong answers, guys. Just opinion.
Yep.
My number four is Zenyatta Mandata. Uh, Released 3rd of October 1980. Again, produced by Nigel Gray, The Police. Short album, 38 minutes and 16 seconds. Starts off with what is now, the classic "Don't Stand So Close to Me." And I never, as a kid in 1980, I never got the message of this song, right? But growing up, and now it's like, woo, okay, it's quite there. But again, the earlier albums, the good songs are basically peppered all the way through the albums. You don't have, for me, the earlier albums, you don't have an album that's either front loaded or bottom loaded in terms of hit after hit after hit. Again, Don't Stand So Close to Me starts off the album. The only other song, and I really find this song dumb, even as a 10-year-old, I found this song very dumb. Do 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 da 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 da. I'm sorry, it's not a good. Even as a hit single, it's dumb. I'm sorry to say. It's a the do da da da. That's all I want to say to you. It's like WTF. I'm sorry. It's like, what is this? I do like Andy Summers' guitar work leading up to, I guess you call it the pre-chorus. Just that very speedy, guitar riff that he does. That's good. I mean, he is a fantastic guitarist. They're all fantastic musicians. I don't. It's just, and the song "Behind My Camel." It's the shits. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm thinking in terms of that. It's not one that's memorable to me at all. So yeah, Zenyatta Mandata is my number four. And again, start your hate. Send the messages. Come on, bring them on. I've dealt with them before. I'll deal with them again. But that's my number four. Zenyatta Mandata. All right. Again.
Okay. Zenyatta Mandata is my number three. Overall, this is the last fun album they made. They had to see them all over MTV, and they portrayed themselves like the Monkees, goofing around a lot, blah blah blah. Um, I have to admit, on Ghost of Machine, um, every little thing she does that's fits more in the mode of Zenyatta Mandata. Um, but the album is very unbalanced. I do like that the vocals aren't filtered through various effects as much, clean vocals. The mix is very straightforward. There again, I appreciate that. I like um, that the guitars are more prominent because, like I say, I like Andy Summers. Um, uh, I have to admit that this album is a little bit special because at the time, the band I was playing in, we covered many of these songs, and they are fun to play. I mean, just really. Um, Don't Stand So Close, subject matter aside, great guitar riff, another catchy chorus. Um, Driven to Tears is it's overall very sparse and spacey. There's air to breathe in there, and the beat and riffs are very good. When the World is Running Down, it's also very sparse, but it still retains some interest in there. It's not the best. Um, I find that Canary in the Coal Mine is kind of fun and jaunty. Um, Bombs Away is a throwaway. Um, you do. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but that's just really a pop song.
Mhm.
And how many pop songs? I mean, look at Van Morrison. He's made a living on and stuff like that without any lyrics at all. So there you go. Behind My Camel, your comment is perfect.
It's
Man in a
just it's
Suitcase. Yeah. Man in a Suitcase is very straightforward and simple song. It's got really nice, effective vocal harmonies. I think that's a fun song. Shadows in the Rain is a throwaway for me. Um, the final track, The Other Way of Stopping, a very upbeat instrumental that focuses on the guitar. Again, not my favorite of the album, but I appreciate being able to hear some guitar on a Police album. But like I said, the album as a whole is very uneven. Um, but I think what is good is very good. Um, and there is that nostalgic aspect to it. So, and by the way, a lot of people don't know this, but this was originally Stuart Copeland's band, not Sting's band.
true enough. And we'll get into that in a
Okay.
second. We'll get into that in a second.
All right.
Okay. Okay, Jim.
Yeah. This was originally my number four, but I bumped it up to number three just on the strength of the, I'd say, undeniable brilliance of a lot of the songwriting on here. And this is the closing album, Synchronicity. Um, and again, my evidence for this is, all the Sting songs on here. I mean, even something like Every Breath You Take, which has just became,
A
ubiquitous
juggernaut.
and over annoying. Yeah, annoying because it was just everywhere. I like overannoying. I think I'm going to make that a new word. Um,
Duly
you
noted.
know, Duly noted. Thank you. Yeah, they're just undeniable what great, great songs these are. Even, like the minor tunes like Oh My God, or, you know, frankly, that's the only minor Sting tune on here that, hasn't been talked about. Walking in Your Footsteps, maybe. But, it's just, this album is absolutely killer with one big exception. Um, Ken, you mentioned earlier Miss Gradenko, which I think is one of my top five police songs of all time. I
Yeah.
think it's as good, fun, catchy, um, superlative as any of the songs that Sting wrote. Um, of course, when this album first came out, it was only 10 tracks. Murder by Numbers was originally the B side to Every Breath You Take, but has since been sort of officially appended onto the album.
Hmm.
And I think Murder by Numbers is just great. Andy Summers wrote the music to it. So you are hearing a lot of guitar on that
Yeah,
one.
I agree.
Yeah, Copeland's performance on Murder by Numbers is just staggering. And, again, to hear Stewart tell stories around his police time, he would do like one or two drum takes, and that's it.
Mhm.
His job was just to go in and, as he says, provide chaos to the brilliance that Sting would put out there. And I think that's part of the acrimony between um, Copeland and Sting, is that he really was, I think, both delighted and just annoyed about how amazing a songwriter Sting was. Um, and I think that kind of comes out in a lot of the interviews that I mentioned earlier that Stewart's been doing these days. Um, he'll just have to admit, the guy could write a song. You just stand back and watch the brilliance. So,
Yeah.
and to me, that's why Synchronicity lands where it does, even with the big turd on side A. Um, it's just really undeniable how great these are as songs. And yes, it is, in 1983 polished, um, but it kind of works.
Okay,
My spiel. Yep.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Um,
Um,
yeah,
Go ahead.
um Copeland has some
Yes.
interesting stories. I'm thinking particular of the Rick Beato interview.
Yeah.
Stuff like Rick, I mean, because the guys were coming in and recording at different times. They, forget about different rooms. They weren't even recording at the same time. And Stuart Copeland would come in and lay in something in the for the drums and then leave. And then Sting would come in and, delete the track, and just, Sting's,
Yeah.
I have never read a single story where Sting was just a really nice, humble guy. So there may be many of them out there. I'm just always hear stories the other way. But anyway,
Okay, we'll get into that. Uh, Believe me, no. Uh, Fair enough. Fair enough. I gotta watch the interview with Rick Beato. I gotta check it out because
It's great.
I'm
yeah.
subscribed to his channel. My number three is Outlandos the More, released September November 17th of 1978, again produced by the Police, short album. 38 minutes and 14 seconds, damn it. Come in, do your thing, don't mess your hair, and get the hell out. It's like a bad date on a Friday night. You know, and hopefully it
Hopefully.
doesn't last till Saturday morning. My notes for this album overall is this one line: punk sensibility with reggae leanings. Um, I do like this album. Short track, starts off with Next to You. So Lonely. I think it's great. Roxanne, I'm not gonna do a sting on that vocal because I'll hurt myself if I do. Um, because it's so difficult to do. It's like, prior
Yeah.
to puberty, I could probably do that. But other songs of note for me on the album, uh, Can't Stand Losing You. Uh, for me, and Peanuts is another, good song. For me, again, what holds these albums together uh, are the hit singles. It's like,
Sure.
you
Sure.
know, they're good. Are they great? You know, they do tend to be a bit top heavy, like front loaded for me, which is fine. Uh, but I kind of like an album that has like hits all the way through. The way you have to search them and you have to listen to the whole album to get to the hits. Because let's face it, if you have two or three or four good songs on side one, most times people don't flip over side two, and we're talking about vinyl, guys.
Sure.
Okay,
That's right.
so uh, this is not the
Well, I
CD
think
age, you know.
right.
So,
I think the exception there, Armando, might be Synchronicity, where side B is the one that's just
yes,
wham, a homer, wham, another homer, wham, a
yes.
haymaker. It's just like,
Yes, I was going to get to that, but you're right.
okay.
You're right. So that's my number three, Atlantis D'Amour.
Number
Hmm.
two.
Number two,
Ken?
Regatta de Blanc. Um, I went
I
and
sense
bought
a I
this.
sense a pattern, Ken.
I've been here before.
Yes,
Talked off.
you have.
Um, I after Atlantis de Amor, um, when they released Regatta de Blanc in '79, I was like, I didn't stand in line outside the record store waiting for them to be delivered to be the first person, but almost. And I remember at the time, my record store had this album in two formats, just the regular 12
Mm.
inch vinyl and the double 7 inch.
Yep.
Um, and for some reason, I bought the double 7 inch. I guess it just because it was novel. But anyway, um, 79, my first year of college,
Oh my God.
and it's got a very what?
I
Well,
was
Armando was
nine.
9.
I was
Oh, I
nine
know.
years old. I'm like, oh my God, mother.
So
It's just like,
Ken is the elder
I
statesman. We have
am
to remember that.
the old curmudgeon music geek.
yes,
Exactly.
when Sagosh is not here, you are the like, I am the youngest one.
That's right.
Oh my God, I
So
need help. Okay, go.
the production is very similar to Outlandos. It retains the sparseness and the straightforward production. It is a little bit more. You can tell a definite difference between Outlandis and Regatta. Of course, nothing else could be said about Message in a Bottle and Walking on the Moon. Um, just absolute classics of theirs. Played too much? Maybe, but then I don't listen to radio anymore. I choose my own music. Um, but they started off with, the Message in a Bottle. It's like, oh, wait a minute. This is not the same as what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Great. Um, Regatta de Blanc, the title, it's another instrumental. but it really nicely spotlights Stuart Copeland's drumming. It's really cool. I really
It's
like
in,
it.
it's instrumental, but it's got that nice, vocal melody
Sure,
that,
sure,
Sting wrote to
sure.
it. So
Yeah. So yeah.
it's a
Actually,
crowd
no
pleaser.
lyrics. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all right for you is good. Bring on the Night. I really love the flamenco guitar style that Andy is playing in this, because that's not easy to play.
Mhm.
And uh, and that's what he's playing during the verses, and then it goes in the chorus, and it's just kind of a straight thing. But so, like I say, great flamenco guitar, and that just really goes to show um, Summers could play a wide um, variation of styles. It wasn't just, the Roxanne chink, 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 chink. Um,
Yeah.
on any other day, it's fun both musically and lyrically. This
Yeah.
album has a lot of very interesting lyrics. Um, Sting wasn't taking himself too serious at this time, and I appreciate that because there's humor in his lyrics on the first two albums. Bed's Too Big Without You, a great underlying bass part with those reggae rhythms. It is repetitive, but because of the formula of how it's arranged, it stays very interesting for me. So I like that. Contact is easy. I mean, it's interesting. It's got a very non-standard chord progression, which is very non-punk. Punk is, hardly ever more than three chords. Um, and it is another one I think, a very interesting bass line. Does Everyone Stare, starting off with that honky tonk piano, is sounding like you're listening to it on an AM radio, the way that Pink Floyd, used. And then it brings it into that full sound. Um, and there's little or no guitar at all on this song. Headphones, I was trying to say, is there any guitar on here? So it's piano driven, which is very unusual. And then No Time This Time, it's just a great upbeat closer. Um, there again, it's that association with college, and I do like the album. When I listen to it, I will usually skip the two hits just because I've heard it so much.
Mhm.
Someone like you, Ken.
Okay,
Oh man.
Jim.
My number two is Zenyatta Mandana. Gosh darn it. I really, really like this album. Behind My Camel, yeah, it's a fun instrumental for what it is. I'd listen to that over Mother any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Um, Shadows in the Rain, like it. I gotta say, I like the Dream of the Blue Turtles version better, but I like Shadows in the Rain on here. Um, I'll just finish with Other Way of Stopping, a great Stuart Copeland instrumental. Man in the Suitcase is, a great fun pop song. Uh, do 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 da da da. I like it. I mean, yes, it's catchy and bubblegummy, and that part of the chorus is kind of annoying. If I had a go-to version of this song, I would pick the Japanese version because they did record a version with Japanese vocals, and it is great. It's
Okay.
still da do 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 da da da, but everything else highly recommended. Japanese. Find it on the interwebs, kids. Comment before I continue, Armando. You look like you're ready to pounce.
Oh.
No,
So Jim,
okay.
are you saying that the Japanese version, that you can't go wrong? Moving on. I'm here all week.
That's right. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Stick around for his 9 o'clock show, guys. It gets a little blue. Okay.
Oh, it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure you tip your wait person.
On the way out. But
exactly.
yeah, tip me. I need the money. Okay. Okay.
By the
Oh,
way, you
shit, I
cultural
needed that.
troglodyte, I think that Wong is more of a Chinese name than it is a Japanese
Okay.
name. So, I'm just gonna call you out on that one, my friend.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna wait for Armando to kind of rejoin
Yeah,
us.
yeah, you
Okay.
go ahead and correct me. I won't take offense. I won't walk out. So,
Okay.
Ah,
Okay. All right.
very nice.
I'm
Side
good.
A of this album is perfect to me. I just really love Side A.
yeah.
Don't Stand So Close to Me is one of the greatest pop songs of all time. The combo of, Driven to Tears and When the World is Running Down, absolutely fantastic. Um, Canary in a Coal Mine, yep, yep, all day long. Voices Inside My Head, very much in the spirit of the song Regatta de Blanc. But again, he makes it work here and bombs away. I think Ken, you called it a throwaway, but to me, it's another great Stuart Copeland gem. Um, I just think Side A, like I said, is freaking perfect. I will confess to a probably some kind of an emotional connection to this album because it was the first Police album I ever bought. But just kind of thinking about it in comparison to the other albums, even with the songs as strong as they are on Synchronicity and kind of the maturity that Sting brought to stuff, frankly, I just prefer the songs on Zenyatta Mandata, a little bit better. And I think that probably has more to do with directly where they came from, which will be the topic of my number one choice. So,
There you go.
boom, Zenyatta Mandata.
Okay. All right. My number two is Ghost in the Machine. It was going to be my number one, but when I looked at the track listing, this album is literally front heavy, front loaded, I should say. Um, this album was this album put them over the top in terms of the charts at this point in time. Number three in the US. I mean, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic was on any K-Tel related compilation that you could think of at the time, and rightfully so. It's catchy song, great melody, great hook. That little sort of piano run that they do on the verses uh, when they start doing when he sings the lyrics, yes.
Just I want to interject that Sean Colvin does a wonderful cover of this song.
Okay.
Yes, she does.
Yes. Good to know. I
And
have to
I'd
check.
also like to interject, since Ken's already interjected, that as uh, what's the word? As iconoclastic and idiosyncratic as Stuart Copeland tries to be, he says that whenever he plays Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, he will always, always play that epic little drum fill before it gets into the parts of the
Yeah.
outro chorus. Stewart to him, everything else is like fair game, and he'll rearrange it however he darn well pleases. But he says he always tries to get that lick in there.
Well, fair enough. And just I was watching some documentary stuff on the police, and from what I gathered, they always tried to sort of uh, make his. They always tried to make his drum parts more simplistic in terms of drum fills and stuff. Whereas he would try and sort of, I guess you'd say, embellish and do more drum fills here and there. And Sting would be more like, calm down, like bring it down a little bit, like bring it back,
Yeah.
calm it back a little bit. And he's like, no, and I mean, it's got to be said on on a not a serious tip, but they were always a band that argued, specifically Sting and Stuart Copeland, and their arguments were of legendary status. They
Epic.
did an interview for the New Music in 81, and they started arguing. They were sitting at a picnic table, and uh, Stuart Copeland threw a drink at Sting and right in his face, and he caught Summers right in the middle. And they both ran off camera, fighting with one another, physically fighting, throwing one another around. And Andy Summers was like, they're like literally looking at his managers and like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is going on here? Um, and it got to be too much. Now, getting back to this album, it is definitely front loaded for me in terms of Spirits in the Material World. Everything she does is magic. Invisible Sun, I do agree with you that it has a more relaxed, laid back vibe. Invisible Sun does in terms of the previous two tracks on, that start off the album. Even with the countdown, when he does the count, one,
Hmm.
two,
Hmm.
three.
Hmm.
Um, Other songs in there, I mean, I understand what you say about Demolition Man. It is what it is. It's good, but it doesn't hold a candle to, you know, the first three tracks.
No.
And the rest of the album, it's fine. Rehumanize Yourself is okay. One World, Not Three is all right. Secret Journey was released as a fourth single. I don't remember it. I think it was done released in the UK. I don't remember ever hearing it on.
I I
Yeah.
remember it's getting some FM airplay
Okay.
in my
Uh,
world.
Um, it's a good album. Again, it was going to be my number one, and I never thought that my number one was going to be my number one.
This I want to hear. I want to hear the story of how you,
But
but
I will hold off on my opinion until we get to our number ones. So, without further ado, Ken.
All right, no surprise here. My number one is Outlandos d'Amor from 1978. The year I graduated high school, Armando.
Oh
So,
shit.
yeah, back when
is
you,
that when
you
you rode your dinosaur to school,
well, that's
old
just what I
man?
was going to say.
When the
Yeah, we didn't
snow
have
drifts
buses.
were
We
yay
rode bikes.
high and you had to walk in the snow
Yeah,
and
yeah. The Flintstones were somewhat autobiographical in my life, but
There you go.
this is this is the Police at their rawest. To me, the later albums aren't post-punk. This one is post-punk, and um, and I really there again. I like you guys are the big jazz rock and roll. I mean, jazz prog guys between the three of us. I'm
okay.
just kind of an old-fashioned rock and roller, and that's what this album is for me. I remember sitting at the little table in my mom's kitchen with the radio stuck up in the window, and I don't remember. I might have been playing solitaire with cards or whatever, and then Roxanne came on the radio, and it's just like, holy crap, what's this? Because in the South, you don't get no punk back then. Where Jim was hanging out at CBGB's and stuff like that. But whatever the California version of CBGB's is.
No,
And
I was later.
so
I was
anyway,
college.
I discovered who the band was. I went and bought the album. The album opens with Next to You, which I think is a perfect album opener, and it sets the standard and the tone for the whole rest of the album. It is a short album. It is not a perfect album. Um, it is a little bit uneven um, for me, um, but these songs are more um, up tempo. The head bobbing, mosh pit spitting on the audience kind of stuff, the post-punk,
Yeah,
and
bring a
the raw
raincoat.
and the wrong guitars. I like Police when it's guitar centered, not synth centered, and I don't like it because um, uh, it's Andy Summers. I like Andy Summers because of the albums, and so Peanuts is a fun song. You know, it's very fast. It's got that post-punk flavor. I Can't Stand Losing You is just a great song. The only song off this album we played in the band was Roxanne, um, just because I couldn't get the other guys to really, get into it. They were all, heavily into Journey and stuff like that, which is fine. It was great, but they weren't the post-punk like I was, because I was listening to Elvis Costello and stuff like that, which just wasn't their thing. Truth Hits Everybody, another straightforward post-punk song. Born in the
Tell me about
50s
it.
is a lot of fun because it mixes the 50s with that post-punk aesthetic. And yeah, born in the 50s. And I was born in 59, so I count.
It counts. Yep.
Now, Be My Girl, Sally. The Be My Girl part is really great. It's just a simple little pot and gem.
Yep.
The Sally passage is really quite bizarre. You know, I'd love to take it and um, learn software editing so I could just cut that part out and make it a regular song. The Masoko Tanga, it feels like a jam, but oh, I love the guitar work in this song.
Yeah.
It's dum, 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 dum. And also the bass work that he's doing at the same time.
Oh,
Um,
they're all grooving so hard on this. Yeah.
yeah, and so I can see it. I can see that really stretching out on stage. Jim, did you ever see them live?
I did see the Police live, but it wasn't until Synchronicity.
Okay, and they probably didn't do much of these then. How did they? I'm assuming at that time they had at least one synth player on stage with them, right?
Well, I think a lot of it was triggered. So it was all
Pedals,
synclavier and it
pedals,
was,
and
yeah, it was just, push the button and off it goes. Didn't
Okay,
have anyone live playing keyboards
okay.
as I recall. I
yeah.
I was
will I
wondering.
will say though that the show that I did see is immortalized on the Synchronicity box set. It's that show at Oakland. So
Okay,
Bring that box set down about $60. I just might buy it.
there you go.
I'm with you, brother.
I would love to hear those latter songs played with just the three of them somehow.
Yeah,
You know, to
it's
me
pretty
that
interesting.
to me that would really show the strength of the songwriting.
Yeah, yeah. It
But
was
anyway,
pretty fun to hear them do So Lonely when Sting's in front of 60,000 people.
sure.
Yeah, bit of an oxymoron there. Um,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, so both the sound, the timing in 1978, the aesthetic, um, my entry point, I was playing in the band at the time. All those things combine into a perfect storm to make this my number one. Atlantis d'Amore,
Jim.
Jim.
Me, Regatta de
Yes,
Blanc, number one with a freaking bullet, people. Um,
Ooh,
rubber bullets,
it's
but go ahead.
yeah, okay. Um, yeah, what to say about? I mean, everyone's talked about it but me. So, um, Message in a Bottle is one of the greatest pop songs, ever written. Regatta de Blanc is, I think, one of the very, very few songs that's co-written by the three of them. Um, and it's just such a fantastic jam. Um, Bring on the Night, the version on here is amazing. Side two, I'm on the here is probably something we should have selected for the killer B-sides, because I think even with something like Contact, I think every song on here is just absolutely perfect. I love side B of this record. Um, yeah, and to me, this is, Ken, you kind of talk about hearing Roxanne on the radio and going, hmm?
Yeah.
And it piquing your interest. And I heard Roxanne and just kind of went, okay. And then I got really tired of it. However, when I heard Message in a Bottle, I'm like, whoa, game changer. There's something really amazing and special about this song and this band. And this is the one that made me kind of be attentive. And then when Zenyatta came out, I'm like, all right, I'm buying this sucker. Um, but yeah, this is the 11-track album. Six of the songs are either written or co-written by Stuart Copeland, which would, make sense as why Stuart named it his favorite Police album.
Mhm.
This album is on both the part of the 1001 albums you must hear before you die book. Rolling Stone has had it on their two big renditions of the 500 greatest albums of all time. And I'm not going to argue with that in any way, shape, or form. In putting this list together of the top five, the number one for me was just never in question. I think there's an energy and a creativity, and I'll say the fulfillment of the promise that was there in Outlandos to me is just fully blossomed on this record. So yeah, I just absolutely love Regatta de Blanc, and I think if they do a box set as they have hinted at, this may be an insta buy, especially if there's live material from back in the day.
Yeah, me too.
Because Stewart was just so creative back then, and Sting songwriting, again, was sort of about to hit that trajectory of where almost like he could do no wrong. So, yeah, absolutely, absolutely fantastic record. And if folks have not heard Regatta de Blanc, they really, really, really need to. It's just, it's a fantastic album. Post punk, post reggae, alt new wave, whatever you want to call it, power pop. It's all of that and none of it at the same time.
Okay.
Dropping the mic now.
There you go. Pretty much. That's
Got
what it
nothing
sounds
more
like.
to say on that.
Yeah.
Um, just a quick couple of notes here. I do remember going before I get into my number one, and I will, ladies and gentlemen, I will.
Oh, we're
Um,
waiting.
I yes, with bated breath. I do remember that when at the time of the release of Ghost and Machine, the Police would do these concerts called the Police Picnic, and where they would have groups like Joan Jett and the Blackhearts and all these new wave rock bands that would come on, and it was like a day. It was like a day of a concert just that would last the entire day, and the Police would go on last in the evening. And they did this in Toronto. I think this was like an annual thing they did for about 3 years in Toronto. And you had a list of bands like that would go on, like the Payolas and all these, with Canadian band, and you would have all these bands like again like the Payolas, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and they would come on and perform, and it was a really fantastic vibe throughout the entire day of these bands playing. I miss that. I miss that. I miss that feeling of it. And again, I was only 11 years old, and I still remember watching news footage of these shows, and it's just like you don't get that anymore. And I'm sorry, but you don't. You really don't, and it's lacking. It really is lacking. Um, on with the show. My number one, wait for it, Synchronicity. Now,
How in the world did that happen?
I have no idea. I have no. Now, if Ghost in the Machine was where a certain member of the band was getting most of his stuff recorded using horn parts, etc., and that was quoted by Andy Summers, Uh, Synchronicity cemented that
Sure.
ideology or that feeling, where this was where Sting basically took over the band. Um, whether or not it was true, that was basically the sentiment of this album. You cannot deny that, polished or not, Hugh Padgham production or not, this album had the hits. Bad
Sure.
Background, released September, listen to me, mother lover. Released June 17th, 1983. By the way, 5 years later, June 17th was the date of my very first concert, John Cougar Mellencamp, the Lonesome Jubilee Tour. There you go. It was a Friday night. I remember it well. Now,
Oh,
um, and thank you.
the
Yes,
baby goes to his first show.
yes,
Oh,
Oh,
yes. And I walked out of there still sober as the day was long. Okay. Um, okay, now Synchronicity is an album overall. You cannot deny the hit factor on this album.
no,
Title track, just straightforward, like going for the throat in terms of the tempo and just the veracity of this track.
mhm.
Walking in Your Footsteps. I mean, another good song. Oh my God, Um, I'm referring to the 11th track version of this album. We are going to skip over the pimple on the backside of this album called Mother. Okay, and
Yep.
Mother was the B-side, the original B-side in my territory of Every Breath You Take. So that's how I know of this song before buying the album.
wow.
Uh,
What hatred did they have against Canada to make that the B-side?
oh, Christ Almighty. Just disgusting. Anyways,
It's
um,
wow.
Miss Credenko, great song, 2 minutes. It sounds longer. Like there's a lot going on in this track than just a
Sure.
2 minute romp, right?
It's
Sure.
over too quickly for me. It's just,
Exactly.
so there's so much fun stuff going on, and Summer's guitar line is so great in this track.
And I like the fact that they ended off side one with Synchronicity too. I think that sort of like encapsulates the one side as like a beginning, a middle, and an ending. It's great. The video was all over the airwaves in terms of pretty much music, in terms of the video
Oh,
music
sure.
videos that was going on. Um, Every Breath You Take, starting off side two. I love this song. You can play it, from my very humble opinion. You can play this song as much as you like. I love this song. And as much as Sting has said, he wrote, if you love someone, set them free, 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 set them free, as a antidote to, or a statement, counter statement to Every Breath You Take. I love
Yeah.
the song. I think it's majestic in its arrangement and its approach. I think it's beautifully done. The piano section that comes in after you know, the lyrics, I keep calling you baby, baby, please, and it fades out, and the piano that comes in, very subtle piano, but very noticeable too. I think that's just beautiful. I think it's
It's
just,
brilliant.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just a very well executed and arranged piece of music. It is sublime. King of Pain, AM FM gold in terms of top
Yeah.
40 hits or top 10 hits. I'm sorry. Wrapped Around Your Finger. Uh, Amazing, amazing. At 5 minutes and 12 seconds. The fact that Sting didn't get catch fire when he was doing the video with all those candlesticks that he had to like tip over or whatever is like,
Right.
hello, like um again, pop confection. Pop confection. Tea in the Sahara, I like it. I think it's a fantastic song. I think it's sparse in its arrangement to my untrained ears, but I think it's fantastic. And Murder by Numbers, yeah, you know what? This should have been incorporated as a
Sure.
as an album track. I
Yeah.
mean, Why not? Why
Yeah.
not? And
Yeah.
yes, Sting, his hold on the band in terms of songwriting and stage presence was absolute at this point, and it is a shame that people do see him as the de facto leader of the band, and the fact that this band did start out as Stuart Copeland's band, and sort of the attention shifted towards Sting. It was probably inevitable that it was going to happen, given the fact that he was writing the majority of he was the principal songwriter at this point in time. And to say that there wasn't resentment, possible resentment. Let me rephrase that. Possible resentment from Stuart Copeland. It was inevitable that that
Sure.
was probably going to happen. Who knew what? Who knows what could have happened? Sorry, had they been able to stay together past this. But I think that the fights that were going on prior. I mean, there were physical altercations. I mean, there was a video that I just glanced at on YouTube that said, I broke Sting's ribs before a gig or after a gig, and back in the dressing room. It's like you're getting into physical fights, physical confrontations, and it spilled over even when they were doing a reunion tour in 07, 08, where they were doing a rehearsal, and Copeland says to Sting, "That's how you play the drums, motherfucker. That's how you play the drums. Not the way you say it, but the way I want to do it." And it's like,
Yeah.
you know what? If you can't get over that from 1983 to 2007, you're not going to get over that. And I don't
No.
think you want to get over that. That animosity that was there. I mean, quickly, there was an interview that they did about a possible reunion, and Stuart Copeland said, "Look, there's one asshole that doesn't want this to happen, and he's not here right now." So, and it was an interview with Stuart Copeland and Andy Summers. So this animosity, this
Yeah.
rivalry, this pettiness is going to continue. So for
Yeah.
those out there who are wanting another reunion, I got a better chance in walking and giving birth to triplets
There you
before
go.
before
There
that
you
Um,
go.
happens.
may I add something?
You may.
I too have heard, a lot of those stories. Um, and I did mention that there's a whole plethora of Stuart Copeland interviews around YouTube now, and
Yeah.
he talks about that specific rib fight and all this other stuff. And to hear Stuart kind of talk about things, and maybe this is revisionist history, I don't know,
Yeah.
but it certainly sounds like the the acrimony between he and Sting were almost like what brothers would have together, where, they love each other, but they fight. And the fights are good natured, but they are physical. And it's, kind of what guys do. Um, Not saying that there's like a level of immaturity in there and they need to grow out of it, but it doesn't sound like, again, this might be revisionist history. Doesn't sound like Stewart hates Sting. Doesn't sound like he resents Sting, but they just have this way of grinding each other's gears, and they egg each other on.
Well, speaking as someone who has a twin brother, if my brother, and he's been aggressive with me, if my brother ever did something like that, broke my ribs, I would never forgive him. I'm sorry. I you can play fight, you can kid around, but if it gets to that point that you're physically harming someone, like causing a broken rib, etc., that's to me personally, from my point of view, that's over the top.
It's a bit much. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
over the top. But okay, ladies and gentlemen,
There you go.
there you go.
What have we learned? What have we
A
learned from this exercise, gentlemen?
that we
That's what I want to
cannot
know.
we cannot do a tamed down or um, restraint episode. It's not within our collective DNA.
No.
It's
But
not
that's
there.
not a
No.
learning. That's just a continuation of the facts as they've already unfolded over the months.
There
So
you go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Another spirited, involved episode of Ranking the Albums focusing on the police. Yes.
I don't know if it's still in print, but there's a wonderful little box set of their complete catalog that has an extra disc with non-album tracks.
you talking about
So it
message
is
in a
out there.
box or something else?
I don't remember. I think I remember it being blue
Yeah.
clamshell box.
Yeah, it is. I remember that.
Nice little
Yeah.
package.
Check it out on Discogs or even possibly even Amazon.ca,
Yeah.
.co.uk or .com. Maybe it's there or even eBay. eBay is a good place to look. So yeah, again, I want to thank Ken and Jim for joining me on this spirited episode of Ranking the Albums
Anytime.
again,
In
Anytime.
the
and
material world.
in the material world. And please put down in the comments below your opinion of these albums. Again, have we missed the plot? Have we got anything right, or did we get everything wrong?
Did we get anything?
We're all of us wrong.
There we go. Because again, we're not music experts, with
Oh,
possibly the exception of Ken, who is a musician by trade, in training.
but I'm
So
old.
there you go. There you go. Again, we have fun doing these episodes, and we hope that does come across on video
Always.
Yep.
when you watch them. So again, I want to thank Frick and Frack, Jim and Ken for joining me on this show, and we will be back with another episode of the Music Den. We have ideas that we're working on, and we're going to get them to you as quickly as we possibly can. And I'm going to plug the shit out of this. If you haven't checked out our series of Going for the One, please do.
Do it.
We had an amazing time doing it. And again, I want to give props to Sagosh for stepping in literally 24 hours before the shows were going to be taped with his
Yep.
list.
Yep.
And he provided an beautiful insights to the albums that he picked. And again, we want to sincerely thank Sagosh for joining in, and he's going to be joining us on more episodes. So please stay tuned for those. And again, click like and subscribe, and do hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new shows we've got coming up. And we will see you soon again on the Music Den. All right. Have a great day. Look after one another and yourselves. Bye for now.